Hello everybody and welcome to today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy, where curiosity takes flight and wisdom wears wings. Today we're going to be exploring dishes, and today's dish that we're going to be exploring is Rhubarb Crumble. So here goes. Rhubarb's history is a sage of transformation, stretching across continents and millennia, weaving through medicine, trade, war, and cultural intervention. Its journey from a vague medical route in ancient Asia to the star of a British comfort dessert is a testament to human curiosity, ingenuity, and the secrecy of cultural exchange. Rhubarb's story begins over 5,000 years ago in the river valleys of China and Tibet, where wild rhubarb grew abundantly. The plant's thick, bitter roots, not its stalks, were the initial focus. Chinese herbalists prized dried rhubarb root as a point purgative documented in the in Ben Cohen, the Divine Farmer's Herb Root Classic, a foundational text of traditional Chinese medicine compiled around 200 BCE. By the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, rhubarb root was a staple in pharmacies prescribed to treat fevers, constipation, and even plague. The root's reputation spread westward via the Silk Road. By the 1st century CE, Greek and Roman physicians wrote of rubicum, a rare import from the distilled lands beyond the Black Sea. Its continuity in Europe made it more valuable than opium or saffron. In medieval times, a pound of rhubarb root cost 10 times as much as cinnamon. Venetian merchants monopolised its trade, fueling it through Constantinople and Alexandria to across Europe. For centuries, Europeans ignored rhubarb stalks, focusing solely on the root. This changed in the 17th century when global trade and colonialism made sugar affordable. As sweets and desserts became fashionable among the wealthy, gardeners began experimenting with rhubarb's tart stalks. The first recorded colour rate uses dates to 1778 when the English botanist William Curtis published a recipe for rhubarb tarts, noting its pleasing acidity when cut with sugar. Rhubarb cultivation boomed in Britain during the early 1800s. Horticulturist Joseph Mart, a farmer in Deptford, London, saw commercial potential in the plant. In 1823, he began selling pie rhubarb at Covent Garden Market, marking it as a cheaper alternative to citrus fruit. By the Victorian era, rhubarb had become a springtime staple, its arrival celebrated in pies, jams, and syllabubs. Queen Victoria herself was said to adore rhubarb. Queen Victoria herself was said to adore rhubarb fool, a dessert of stewed stalks folded in whipped cream. The Industrial Revolution and Yorkshire's unique microcosm propelled rhubarb into a cultural phenomenon. In the 1870s, farmers in the Rhubarb Triangle a 9 square mile area between Wakefield, Marley and Rothwell, perfected the art of forcing rhubarb by growing plants outdoors for 2 years to build energy, then transferring them to dark, warm shields, heated by cool armagnac. They produce starts of unparalleled sweetness and tenderness. Deprived of light, the plants channeled energy into rapid growth, yielding slender candy pink stems with a delicate flavour. Harvesting became a theatrical ritual. Workers plucked stalks by candlelight to prevent photosynthesis, which would green and toughen them. The sound of rhubarb growing a soft pop as stalks burst through the soil filled the sheds. By the 1930s, special rhubarb trains raced nightly from Ardsley Station to London's markets, where chefs and housewives clamoured for the first forced rhubarb of winter. The triangle's output was so iconic that during World War II, the government exempted rhubarb farmers from conscription to preserve this vital source of vitamin C. Rhubarb crumble, as we know it, is a child of necessity. During World War II rationing that lasted between 1940 and 1954, restricted butter, flour and sugar, making traditional pies and pastries impractical. Sorry, I'll read again. World War II rationing that lasted between 1940 and 1954 restricted butter, flour and sugar, making the traditional pies and pastries impractical. The Ministry of Food prompted mock recipes like Walton pie, a potato-top vegetable melody to stretch ingredients. The crumble emerged as a thrifty alternative, a mix of flour, margarine and a spoonful of sugar rubbed together and scattered over fruit. Post-war, the crumble evolved into a symbol of comfort and recovery. As austerity is, home cooks enrich the topping with oats, nuts and spices, while rhubarb remained a popular filling due to its hardness and affordability. By the 1960s, it was a Sunday lunch staple, immortalised in community cookbooks and school dinners. Today, rhubarb crumble straddles nostalgia and reintervention. The Yorkshire Triangle's forced rhubarb earned protected designation of origin (POD) status in 2010, safeguarding its heritage. Meanwhile, chefs like Heston Blumenthal and other chefs have reimagined the dish, deconstructing it into a rhubarb sorbet with crumble dust or pairing it with Middle Eastern spices like cardamom. In a world of fleeting food trends, rhubarb crumble endures, a humble dish that carries a humble dish that carries the weight of empires, the ingenuity of war, and the sweetness of resilience. So the ingredients. At its core, rhubarb crumble is a study of fragility, a dish that transforms a handful of humble ingredients into something transcendent. Each component carries its own history, chemistry, and cultural renaissance, weaving together to create a dessert greater than the sum of its parts. Rhubarb stalks for scarabaeus are a marvel of botanical adaptations. Their vibrant red hues in forest varieties comes from pigments that protect the plant from UV stress, ultraviolet. The stalk's intense tartness is due to malic acid, the same compound found in apples, which mellows when heated. Historically, rhubarb's acidity made it a natural pairing with fatty meats in savoury medieval dishes, but sugar's decentralisation in the 18th century shifted its role to desserts. In the rhubarb triangle, growers still debate ideal start thickness. Pencil thin, stems are prized for tanginess, while thicker ones offer a more robust bite. Modern chefs often slice rhubarb in sugar overnight to draw out juices, a technique borrowed from French compote, ensuring the filling remains silky rather than watery. Sugar's role in rhubarb crumble is both practical and symbolic. In the 17th century, when sugar was a luxury only the wealthy could afford, to sweeten rhubarb's bite, the triangular trade enslaved Labour sugarcane, and European markets made sugar accessible, reshaping diets globally. Brown sugar, a common crumble ingredient, owes its caramel notes to a byproduct of sugarcane. Refining its nature helps create a chewy, clumpy topping, while white sugar promotes crispiness. During World War II, rationing limited households to 8 ounces of sugar per week, forcing cooks to stretch sweetness with alternatives like grated carrots or parsnips. Post-war, the crumble became a canvas of experimentation. Dilemma for crunch, honey for floral notes, or maple syrup for a North American twist. The topping's texture hinges on the interplay between flour and fat. Traditional recipes call for plain flour, its gluten content kept low by minimal handling. Cold butter rubbed into flour coats the proteins, inhibiting gluten formation and ensuring a tender, sandy texture. This technique mirrors the French submerged method used in shortbread and pie dough. Oats, a common addition since the 1960s, reflect the health-conscious ethos of the era. Rolled oats add nuttiness and absorb moisture, preventing sogginess. In Scotland, where oats have been a staple since the Middle Ages, cooks might replace flour entirely with oatmeal, harking back to a dessert of toasted oats and cream. Cinnamon and ginger, classic crumble spices, reveal Britain's colonial past. Cinnamon, native to Sri Lanka, became a Britain pastry pantry staple after the East India Company's spice trade boom. Ginger, used medically since Roman times, adds warmth that complements rhubarb sharpness. Modern variations might include star anise, a nod to rhubarb's Chinese roots, or orange zest, whose citrus oils cut through richness, a trick borrowed from Italian Gucci. Rhubarb crumble is more than a dessert, it's a cultural touchstone, embodying regional pride, seasonal rituals, and collective memory. Its evolution mirrors social shifts from post-war austerity to contemporary gourmet reinvention. In Britain, Rhubarb Crumble is in a chocolate blue linked to spring. Forced rhubarb harvest from January to March arrives when winter stores are depleted, offering a burst of colour and acidity. This timing aligns with Lent, when medieval Christians abstained from meat and dairy, making rhubarb tartness a welcome contrast to hearty vegetables. Today, the first crumble of the year remains a rite of passage, celebrated in farm shops and food blogs alike. The dish also reflects Britain's agrarian past. Village fetes often feature crumble competitions where locals debate the merits of adding custard, a creamy egg thickened sauce or cream. In Yorkshire, Rhubarb Crumble is a point of regional pride, served alongside parking and ginger cake at bonfire celebrations. Rhubarb's diaspora followed Britain's colonialism and immigration. In New England, settlers planted rhubarb in kitchen gardens, leading to the American crisp where oats and nuts dominate the topping. In Sweden, might lay rhubarb with vanilla-scented breadcrumbs, a remnant of Viking era grain preservation. Australian rhubarb roly-poly wraps stewed stalks into a pastry, marrying British tradition with outback ingenuity. Even Japan has embraced rhubarb, pairing it with matcha in washi confections, a fusion of Western-inspired cuisine. The crumble's simplicity has made it a metaphor for resilience. During the 2020 COVID-19 lockdowns, Google searches for rhubarb crumble recipes surged as people sought comfort in baking. Community groups distributed rhubarb plants to combat loneliness, echoing World War II's Dig for Victory campaigns. Rhubarb crumble, with its tart filling and golden buttery topping, is often celebrated as a quintessential British comfort food. Yet beneath its humble appearance lies a rich and unexpected history, one of cross-cultural exchange, wartime ingenuity, and the quiet triumph of a once medicinal plant. The story begins not in a kitchen but in ancient Chinese apocryphs. For over 5,000 years, rhubarb root was prized as a potent laxative, trading along the Silk Road to Europe. By the 14th century, its bitter stalks, however, were largely ignored until the 18th century, when sugar became more affordable in Britain and enterprising cooks began experimenting with rhubarb sharp flavour, stewing it with sugar to create jams and pies. By the Victorian era, rhubarb had shed its medicinal reputation, emerging as a springtime delicacy. Its popularity surged in Yorkshire's rhubarb triangle, where farmers perfected forcing growing rhubarb in darkened sheds to produce tender, candy pink stalks. This intervention transformed rhubarb from an East crop into a culinary staple, laying the groundwork for its partnership with crumble. The crumble topping, now synonymous with British desserts, owes its existence to austerity during World War II. During World War II, rationing made traditional pastry Traditional pie pastry requiring generous amounts of butter and lard, a luxury few could afford. Housewives turned to a simple mixture of flour, margarine, and sugar, creating a frugal alternative that required minimal ingredients. The first recorded crumble recipe appeared in 1924, featuring apples, but it was wartime necessity that cemented its place in British kitchens. Rhubarb, thriving in Britain's chilly climate, became the ideal filling. It was cheap, abundant, and added vibrancy to otherwise dreary meals. This pairing of resourcefulness and resilience turned Rhubarb Crumble into a symbol of home front solidarity. Rhubarb Crumble's rise mirrored broader shifts in British identity. Post-war, it became a nostalgic emblem of rural life and family gatherings, evoking images of steaming pudding served with custard at Sunday roast. Its regional ties to Yorkshire's Rhubarb Triangle reinforced its status as a dish rooted in local pride. Yet its simplicity also made it a canvas for adaptation. Immigrant communities introduced spices like ginger and cardamom, with global influences inspired pairings with strawberries or exotic fruits. Even the German Stritzel and the German, even the German Streusel and American crisp cousins of the crumble highlighted shared culinary principles across borders. Rhubarb crumble, in this sense, became both a national icon and a testament to the fluidity of food culture. Today, rhubarb crumble is experiencing a renaissance as chefs and home cooks reimagine its possibilities. Vegan berries swap butter for coconut oil, while gluten-free adaptations use almond flour or oats. Sustainability-driven recipes emphasize seasonal locally sourced rhubarb, reducing food waste by incorporating imperfect stalks. Modern twists such as adding balsamic vinegar for depth or serving it with basil-infused cream reflect contemporary taste without erasing tradition. Even the dish's presentation has evolved, with individual remakings or deconstructed crumbles appealing to Instagram era aesthetics. Yet, in these interventions, the essence of rhubarb crumble remains unchanged. It is still a dish that thrives on contrast, the sharpness of rhubarb against the sweetness of sugar, the crunch of topping against the softness of fruit. These contrasts mirror its history, a journey from sanctuary to abundance, medicine to indulgence, and regional speciality to global comfort food. The real story of Rhubarb Crumble is one of reinvention. It is a dish shaped by necessity, nourished by tradition, and continually reborn through creativity, from its origins in ancient Chinese medicine to its role in wartime kitchens and modern fine dining. Rhubarb Crumble embodies humanity's ability to transform limitations into opportunity. It reminds us that even the simplest foods carry layers of history, culture, and ingenuity, prove that a humble dessert can be a window into the soul of a society. In every bite of rhubarb crumble, we taste not just sugar and spice, but the resilience of those who turned hardship into something enduringly sweet. Rhubarb crumble Crumble's magic lies in its balance of opposites, a dance between sharp and sweet, crisp and soft tradition and innovation. Rhubarb's malic acids, rhubarb's malic acid activates taste receptors for sourness, while sugars stimulate sweet receptors. When heated, these compounds undergo creating fruity aromas that trick the brain into perceiving greater sweetness. The Maillard reaction, the browning of flour and sugar, adds toasty caramelised depth, while butter's fatty richness rounds out the edges. A perfect crumble topping should shatter like a shortbread cookie, giving way to a yielding, almost molten filling. Achieving this requires precision. Too much butter and the topping melts into greasy sludge. Too little and it becomes powdery. Modern chefs like Heston Blumenthal use freeze-dried rhubarb to intensify flavour without excess moisture, while gluten-free bakers might substitute ground almonds for flour, a technique borrowed from French frangipane. Rhubarb Crumble is a masterpiece of edible chemistry, where heat, enzymes, and molecule reactions transform raw ingredients into a harmonious whole. Every stage of its creation, from creation to baking, is governed by scientific principles that bridge botany, physics, and gastronomy. Rhubarb's signature tartness stems from malic acid found in apples and acylic acid, which binds to accumulate calcium in the body and gives a metallic tang. When heated, these acids break down, mellowing the flavour. Similarity, the starch's rigid structure softens as heat dissolves parts of the that acts as a neutral glue between plant cells. This dual process turns fibrous stalks into a velvety compote. Overcooking, however, destroys too much parting, leading to a watery filling. Modern chefs often add apple or creamsicle, both enriched to stabilise the texture, a trick borrowed from jam-making traditions. The crumble's topping, golden hue and nutty aroma arises from the Maillard reaction, a chemical interplay between amino acids from flour proteins and reducing sugars. At temperatures above 140 degrees, 284 degrees Fahrenheit, these compounds recombine into melodies, creating complex flavours reminiscent of toasted bread or caramel. Adding dearer sugar with its high content accelerates this reaction, while oats contributes additional proteins for deeper browning. Butter's role as studying fat physics. The texture of the crumble hinges on fat's ability to inhabit gluten formation. When cold butter is rubbed into flour, it coats the starch and protein particles, creating a waterproof barrier. As the crumble bakes, the butter melts, leaving air pockets that expand into flakes. Using melted butter by contrast results in a denser cookie-like texture, a lesson in how fat temperature dictates outcome. Vegan substitutes like coconut oil mimic this by remaining solid at room temperature, but melting evenly in the oven. The battle between sogginess is a therapeutic challenge. Rhubarb releases steam as it bakes, which can condense under the topping. To prevent this, bakers layer a moisture barrier of crushed amaretti cookie or ground almonds beneath the fruit, a technique inspired by the French tart tatin. Alternatively, pre-cooking the rhubarb reduces excess liquids, ensuring the crumble stays crisp. Molecule gastrometers reimagined the crumble. Chef Heston Blumenthal's version uses vacuum-sealed rhubarb cooked at low temperature to preserve its shape and acidity, paired with a crumble soil made from dehydrated brown butter crumbs. Such interventions highlight how science can elevate tradition without erasing its soul. Rhubarb's cultural renaissance is celebrated in festivals worldwide, where communities gather to honour its history, versatility, and the artisans who cultivate it. These events blend agriculture, artistry, and rival, proving that even the humblest ingredients can inspire passion. Held annually in Wakefield Rhubarb Festival, Yorkshire, UK. Held annually in February, this festival transforms Wakefield into a rhubarb wonderland. The event began in 2008 to revive the rhubarb triangle's heritage, threatened by cheap imports and shrinking farmland. Highlights include candle harvest tours. Visitors can visitors don headlamps to pit stops in traditional forcing sheds, guided by fourth-generation farmers. Colouring battles. Local chefs compete to create avant-garde dishes that rhubarb-infused sausages or rhubarb gin sorbet. Rhubarb gin distilling. Comparatives like rhubarb renovations blend forced rhubarb with botanicals, reviving a Victorian tradition of fruit liqueurs. The festival's peak de resistance is the Rhubarb Symphony, where stalks are played like percussion instruments, their hollow stems producing ethnic earthreal drum-like tones. Oregon Rhubarb Festival, USA. In the Pacific Northwest, rhubarb thrives in the cool, damp climate. The Oregon Festival, held each May, emphasises sustainability and hyperlocal cuisine. Attendees can taste heirloom varieties, rare like Victoria green stalks and extra tart or crimson cherry berry sweets are displayed alongside hybrid experiments. Join pie baking workshop. Bakers share secrets like adding a teaspoon of vinegar to the crust for flakiness and Depression era hats. Explore rhubarb art. Sculptures carve stalks into intricate roses, while diners use rhubarb roots rich in scent to create earthly orchid textiles. The festival also addresses rhubarb's ecological impact, promoting it as a low-water crop ideal for climate-resilient farming. Nordic rhubarb traditions. In Sweden, rhubarb pie is a midsummer staple served with vanilla custard. The Rhubarb Festival features a communal feast where dishes are cooked over oven fires in cast iron pots, a Viking era method. Iceland's Rhubarb Festival, meanwhile, celebrates rhubarb's role in surviving the Little Ice Age when it was one of the few crops that thrived in volcanic soil. A dinner party at the Butterfly Princess Academy now I've tried to incorporate all this scenario into the image you see behind me. So here goes. Imagine stepping into the Butterfly Princess arcade at a glass enclosed in Wardian Conservatory where thousands of monarchs flit amongst orchids and jasmine. The air hums with warmth from terracotta heaters and a long oak table glows under fairy lights. Tonight, Rhubarb Crumble is the guest of honour. The host, a botanist turned chef, has designed the evening as an ode to Rhubarb's journey. Menus are printed on seed paper embedded with rhubarb seeds, and centerpieces are living telomeres of rhubarb seedlings. Guests at rhubarb royal cocktails and an effortless mix of rhubarb syrup prosecco in time as a harpist plucks melodies reminiscent of rhubarb stalks rustling in the wind. At the meal's climax, the host reveals the crumble, a cast iron skillet still bubbling from the oven. The topping, a mosaic of oats, hazelnuts, and burnt honey, glistens under a snowfall of powdered sugar. Beside it, a copper pitcher of custard steams faintly infused with vanilla pods from Madagascar and saffron threads, a nod to rhubarb's Silk Road origins. As guests spoon into the crumble, the room fills with the crackle of crust, giving way to sound likened to autumn leaves underfoot. The first bite delivers a rush of warm rhubarb, its tartness tempered with caramelised sugar, followed by the custard silken embrace. A guest from Yorkshire tears up, murmuring, "Tastes like my grand's kitchen." Another, a food critic, scribbles notes on the interplay of texture. The crumble isn't stopping its landscape. Between bites, the host shares tales of Yorkshire's rhubarb foragers and the science of forcing. A microbiologist guest explains how rhubarb's acylic acid once preserved Viking longship ropes, sparkling a debate on food's role in human inventions. By evening's end, strangers have become confident, bound by the shared joy of a dish that transcends time and place. Rhubarb crumble endures because it is imperfectly perfect, a dish that welcomes variations, forgives mistakes, and adapts to this while remaining rooted in tradition. It's a culinary paradox, both rustic and refined, humble and heart-fleeting and eternal. In a world obsessed with novelty, the crumble is a reminder that comfort lies not in complexity but in connection to the earth, to history, and to one another. From Yorkshire's frost-crisp fields to the butterfly-filled archery, it invites us to savour life's simple, sensational gifts. As long as there are hands to rub butter into flour and rhubarb starts to sweeten under fire, this dish will remain a testament to the beauty of beginnings, whether botanical, cultural, or human. Rhubarb crumble is more than a dessert of sensory experiences, a dish that engages sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell in a harmonious crescendo. From the first crackle of its golden crust to the lingering warmth of its spicy aroma, This humble British classic transforms the sharp, fibrous stalks of rhubarb into a tactile and emotional journey. A rhubarb crumble announces itself long before it reaches the table. In the oven, the filling's juices simmer and bubble, hissing softly like a whisper of steam escaping a kettle. These gentle pops and gurgles signal the alchemy at work. Rhubarb's rigid coercion breaking down into liquid velvet sugar, caramelising into golden syrup. When the dish emerges, the crust crisp and uneven as a sun-baked riverbed sings as it cools. The topping crackles faintly, a sound reminiscent of ancient autumn leaves, crunching underfoot or the first bite into a perfectly toasted mariage. This triple promise of texture is the prelude to the feast, an intricate innovation to delve deeper. The magic of rhubarb crumble lies in its juxtaposition of texture, a tactile balance between yielding and resistance. The filling, once tight and fibrous, softens into a velvety compote, packed in a natural thickening. Rhubarb dissolves under the heat, transforming the stalks into a silky, almost jam-like consistency. Each spoonful glides across the tongue, punctuated by occasional threads of softened starch that cling to the teeth, a reminder of the vegetable's earthly origins. Above this lush foundation lies the crumble, a rugged landscape of butter, flour, and sugar. When properly made, the topping shatters into craggy shreds, its edges caramelised in a toffee-like crunch. Rolled oats or chopped nuts add a gravelly bite, while sugar crystals sparkle like tiny amber jewels, dissolving into caramel on the tongue. The contrast between the molten filling and the brittle crust is a stunning balance, a tactile metaphor for the dish's sweet tart duty. Rhubarb's crumble is a masterclass in flavour equilibrium. The rhubarb, with its sharp malate and acids, delivers a bracing tartness akin to underripe strawberries or green apples. Left unchecked, this acidity could overwhelm the palate, but sugar, whether graduated brown or honey, intervenes, softening the edge into a rounded floral sharpness. The topping introduces gets butter toasted by the Maillard reaction, lends a nutty richness, while spices like cinnamon or cardamom weave warmth into every crumb. Vanilla is almost an almond extract, often added to the filling, acts as a bridge, their floral sweetness harmonising with rhubarb's tang. A pinch of salt in the crust elevates the entire ensemble, sharpening flavours like sunlight cutting through fog. The result is a taste profile between bright and mellow, a push-pull dynamic that keeps the plate intrigued. The aromas of rhubarb crumble is a nostalgic embrace, evoking wood-fired ovens and grandmother's kitchens. As it bakes, the rhubarb sharp green fragrance mellows into a jammy sweetness, mingling with the caramelized sugar's burnt candy perfume. The crust exhales notes of brown butter and toasted grain, while spices like cinnamon and nutmeg rise like incense, their warmth wrapping the senses in a cosy haze. When served, the dish releases a final burst of steam, a fragrant cloud of vanilla, citrus zest, and baked fruit that beckons like a siren call. Visually, Rhubarb Crumble is a study of rustic elegance, revealing a vibrant mosaic of ruby red rhubarb and translucent syrup bubbles through the fixtures, glistening like stained glass. The topping, uneven and craggy, glows with a golden brown pitch, its surface dusted with powdered sugar that mimics a frost-kissed meadow. Served in a weathered commercial dish or a cast iron skillet, the crumble excludes unpredictable charm. A drizzle of custard or of ice cream adds a contrast, their creamy whiteness pooling against the crimson filling like snow melt on autumn soil. Rhubarb Crumble's sensory journey is elevated by its accompaniments, each adding a new note to the symphony. Custard, the velvety egg rich sauce infused with vanilla or a whisper of nutmeg, cloaks the tartness in creamy luxury. Its warmth contrasts with the crumble's crispness, creating a soothing counterpart. Ice cream, a scoop of vanilla bean or clotted cream ice cream melts into the dish, its chill tempering the heat of the filling. The collision of temperature is a playful surprise, akin to biting into a sun-warmed peach on a winter's day. Whipped cream, light and airy. Whipped cream flavoured with rose water or orange blossom adds floral sophistication. Its frothiness balancing the crumble's density. Yogurt or creme fraiche, tangy and cool. This provides a refreshing contrast. Their acidity mirroring the rhubarb's bite while lightening the dish for brunch or breakfast. Boozy pairings. A drizzle of rhubarb liqueur, a splash of, or a glass of Talreport emphasises complexity, their sweetness and heat echoing the dish's caramelised depths. Rhubarb crumble is not merely eating, it's experienced. Each element, from the crackling crust to the fragrant steam, conspires to create a multi-sensory ritual that transcends mere sustenance. It is a dish that comforts as much through its texture and aromas as its flavours, and reminder that the most profound joys often lies in life's simplest pleasures. In a world of fleeting trends, Rhubarb Crumble enjoys as a sensory heirloom, a dish that invites us to slow down, savour and reconnect with the delight of eating. Whether enjoying a candlelit farmhouse or a bustling urban kitchen, it remains a testament to the power of contrast, balance, and the unassuming beauty of nature's bounty. The evolution and cultural significance. Right. Rhubarb crumble, a humble yet beloved dessert, emphasizes the intersections of simplicity and tradition, comprising a tart rhubarb base crowned with a buttery crumbly topping. This dish has secured its place as a staple in British cuisine. Beyond its culinary appeal, Rhubarb Crumble embodies historical resilience and cultural adaptation, reflecting shifts in resources, taste, and global influences. Rhubarb Stories begins not in the palate but in the. Right, I've read this. 1 minute. Right, Rhubarb Crumble is deeply woven into British identity. It evokes nostalgia, often served at family gatherings as Sunday roast, symbolising warmth and togetherness. Its association with the Rhubarb Triangle in Yorkshire, a hub for forced winter rhubarb, highlights regional pride and agricultural heritage. Globally, the dish finds parallels in other cuisines. German streusel featuring a stritzel featuring a similar crumb topping, and America's crisps and cobblers underscore shared colouring principles. Yet rhubarb's unique tartness distinguishes the British version. Its journey from Chinese medicine to European kitchens also mirrors broader narratives of colonial trade and cultural exchange. The dessert's charm lies in its balance of contrast. Rhubarb sharpness is tempered by sugar, while the topping's richness offers the fruit's acidity. Traditional recipes call for flour, butter, and sugar, but modern variations incorporate oats for texture, nuts for crunch, or spices like ginger for complexity. Pairing rhubarb with strawberries and apples softens its spice, creating harmonious flavour profiles. Preparation is straightforward yet ritualistic. Rhubarb is chopped, sugared, and sometimes thickened with the cornstarch before being layered in a dish. The topping made by rubbing butter into flour until crumbly is scattered atop. Baked until golden, the dish emerges with a crisp, scary and bubbly filling. Serving it warm with custard or cream, a nod to British traditions, elevates its comfort food appeal. Contemporary chefs have reimagined rhubarb crumble to suit evolving tastes. Flavour enhancements like port wine or cardamom add sophistication, while dietary adaptations cater to gluten-free or vegan diets using almond flour or plant-based fats. Presentation shifts such as individual recurrings or crumble bars reflect modern aesthetics without sacrificing nostalgia. Rhubarb crumble is more than a dessert, it is a testament to adaptability. Born from historical necessity and cultural exchange, it has endured as a symbol of comfort, invention and identity. As it continues to evolve, its essence remains rooted in the simple pleasures of constructing textures and flavours, a sweet reminder of the past reimagined for the future. So here are some questions and answers about the dish rhubarb crumble. So question one, why did rhubarb crumble become popular during World War II? Answer: during wartime rationing, ingredients like butter and lard, essential for pie pastry, were scarce. For pies and pastry were scarce. The crumble topping, requiring fewer resources, flour, sugar, and mineral fats, became an economical alternative. Rhubarb, a hardy plant that thrived in Britain's climate, provided a readily available fruit substitute, making the dish both practical. Okay, how does rhubarb's medicinal history contrast with its culinary use? Answer: rhubarb was first cultivated in ancient China for its purgative roots used to treat digestive ailments. Its tradition to culinary ingredients in Europe occurred centuries later, when sugar became affordable enough to balance its tartness. This shift reflects how cultural exchange and economic changes can redefine a plant's purpose. Question 3. What cultural values does rhubarb crumble represent in British society? Answer: the dish embodies fragility, resourcefulness and comfort, being central to British identity, especially post-World War II. Its association with family meals and regional pride, for example, Yorkshire's rhubarb crumble triangle, also underscores its role in fostering communal bonds and celebrating local agriculture. Question 4. How does rhubarb crumble compare to similar desserts like German Stritzel? Both desserts feature a crumbly topping, but Stritzel often includes spices like cinnamon and is layered into cakes or yeast-based pastries. Rhubarb crumble, by contrast, is simpler, emphasising the fruit's sharp flavour and pairing it with custard, a distinctively British accompaniment. The difference highlights regional preferences for texture and softness. Question 5. Right, why is rhubarb often paired with strawberries in modern recipes? Strawberries' natural sweetness counterbalances rhubarb's acidity, creating a harmonious flavour profile. Seasonally, both plants ripen in late spring, making them a practical pairing. This combination also reflects evolving tartness taste, as modern palates often favour milder tartness. Question 6. What role does cornstarch play in the preparation of rhubarb crumble? Answer. Cornstarch acts as a thickening agent, absorbing excess liquids released by rhubarb during baking. Without it, the filling could become overly watery. This step showcases the importance of texture balance in dessert making, ensuring the crumble holds its structure. Question 7. How has globalisation infused modern interpretations of rhubarb crumble? Answer. Immigration and culinary experimentation introduced ingredients like ginger, cardamom and coconut oil to traditional recipes. Vegan and gluten-free adaptations using almond flour or plant-based butter cater to diverse dietary needs, reflecting today's interconnected food culture. Question 8. Why is the rhubarb triangle significant to the dish's history? Answer. Located in Yorkshire, England, this region became famous in the 19th century for forcing rhubarb, growing it in dark, warm sheds to produce tender, sweeter stalks year-round. The intervention secured rhubarb's place in British cuisine and supported dessert's popularity. Question 9. What makes the crumble's texture unique compared to a pie crust? Answer. A pie crust relies on layered gluten development via rolling for flakiness, while crumble topping uses a rubbing-in method to create a loose, sandy texture. The result is a contrast between the crisp buttery crumbs and the soft fruit beneath, a key element of the dish's appeal. Question 10. How does rhubarb crumble reflect sustainability in cooking? Answer. The dish traditionally uses seasonal locally grown rhubarb, minimising food miles. Its simplicity, requiring basic pantry staples, aligns with nose-to-tail vegetable use, since rhubarb leaves are toxic but starts are fully utilised. Modern zero-waste variations might incorporate overripe fruit or leftover oats. So there are the questions and answers. Now here are some rhetorical questions and insights. So question 1. What does it mean that a plant once prized for its poisonous roots became the start of a beloved dessert? Insight. Rhubarb's journey from medicinal purgative to sweet comfort food mirrors humanity's ability to redefine utility, transforming the overlooked into something cherished. Question 2. Can a dessert born from wartime rationing truly symbolise abundance. Insights. Rhubarb Crumble's humble ingredients reveal how sensitive can inspire creativity, turning limitations into a legacy of resilience and resourcefulness. Question 3. Why does the pairing of tart rhubarb with sugary custard feel so unsavoury satisfying? The dish's balance of opposites, sharp and sweet, crisp and soft, echoes life's own contrast, offering comfort through harmony. 4. How does a dish rooted in regional agriculture become a national icon? Yorkshire's Rhubarb Crumble didn't just grow a crop, it cultivated a narrative of local pride that resonated with a nation rebuilding its identity post-war. Question 5. Is Rhubarb Crumble a relic of the past or a canvas for modernity? Its enduring appeal lies in adaptability. Vegan butter and gluten-free flour-proof tradition isn't static, but a foundation for reinvention. Question 6. What does it say about us that we've eaten the same dessert for generations, yet never the same way twice? Insight. Rhubarb Crumble embodies the paradox of culinary traditions. Its consistency to its ability to evolve, reflecting each era's tastes and values. Question 7. Can a crumble topping bowl of teach us about indulgence? The crumble simplicity elevates the ordinary into the extraordinary, reminding us that luxury often lies in invention, not excesses. Rhubarb Crumble is a study in contradictions. Its key ingredients were once deemed unfit for consumption, toxic leaves, yet its stalks became a symbol of culinary integrity. Similarly, in its wartime origins as a poor man's pie, now graces Michelin-starred menus, proof that value is never fixed, only reimagined. The dish's very existence hinges on sugar's dequantization. Rhubarb's tartness requires sweetening, a luxury once reserved for the elite. Its rise in 19th century Britain parallels the dark history of colonial sugar trade, embedding global exploitation into a homespun dessert. Rhubarb Crumble isn't just eaten, it's remembered. Each bite evokes personal and collective nostalgia. Sunday lunches, school dinners, grandparents' kitchens. This emotional resourcefulness transforms a simple recipe into a vessel for shared identity. Sustainability in disguise. Long before zero waste trends, Rhubarb Crumble emphasised resourcefulness. Every part of the plant had a purpose. Roots for medicines, stalks for food. Today, its seasonal focus and mineral ingredients list align with modern eco-conscious values, making it a quiet pioneer of sustainable eating. The German schnitzel, American crisp, and British crumble are colonial cousins, separated by borders but united by crumbs. Rhubarb Crumble's variations reveal how migration and trade quietly shape national dishes, blurring the line between local and global. The humanity of imperfection, unlike fussy pastries, crumble embodies embraces imperfection, uneven toppings, bubbling juices, rustic presentation. In a world obsessed with curated perfection, its messiness feels radical, a celebration of authenticity and artifact. Rhubarb Crumble, with its unassuming layers of tart fruit and buttery crumb, is far more than a simple dessert. It's a culinary pot, a dish etched with the fingerprints of history, culture, and human integrity. From its origins in ancient Chinese medicine to its wartime renovation as a symbol of British resilience, Rhubarb Crumble embodies the transformative power of necessity and creativity. It reminds us that food is never static, it evolves alongside societies, absorbing stories of trade, conflict, migration, and intervention. Resilience and simplicity. The dish's enduring appeal lies in its adaptability. Born of sanctuary, it has thrived in times of abundance, proving that resourcefulness can yield lasting cultural treasures. Cultural dialogue. Rhubarb Crumble challenges the notion of authenticity. Its global cousin, German Stritzel, American crisps, reveal how shape culinary principles transcend borders, inviting us to celebrate both diverse and community. Sustainability lessons. Rhubarb's journey from toxic roots celebrated stalk underscores the importance of reimagining resources. In an era of climate crisis, its seasonal low waste ethos offers a model for mindful eating. Agricultural rights. Rhubarb Crumble is a dish as layered in history as it is in texture, transcends its role as a dessert to become a mirror reflecting broader social forces, agricultural heritage, wartime resilience, cultural evolution, sustainability and psychology of memory. By examining its journey through these lenses, we uncover profound insights into how food shapes and is shaped by the world around us. Agricultural historical crops is cultural cornerstones. The story of Yorkshire's rhubarb triangle, a once thriving hub for force-winged rhubarb, reveal how crops can define regional identity. For over a century, the triangle's farmers perfected the art of growing tender pink stalks in darkened sheds, creating a product so distinctive it earned protected designation of origin status in 2010. Yet the region's decline, driven by cheaper imports and shifting consumer habits, underscores globalisation's double-edged impact on local agriculture. As supermarkets prioritise cost over prevention, small-scale growers struggle to compete, eroding not just livelihoods but cultural legacy. This tension between global markets and local traditions raises urgent questions. Can regional specialties survive in a homogenised food system, or does globalisation dilute the stories embedded in our soil? During World War II, rhubarb crumble became a culinary act of defiance. With butter and pastry scarce, households embraced the crumble's frugal topping, transforming into comfort. This adaptation was more than practical, it was psychological. The dish became a symbol of shared sacrifice and ingenuity. Its simplicity a testament to making do. Today, its enduring popularity speaks to how food encodes cultural memory. Each generation that bakes a crumble inherits not just a recipe but a narrative of endurance, connecting modern kitchens to wartime pantries. The crumble's persistence reminds us that recipes are not mere instructions, they are vessels of collective identity passed down like heirlooms. Rhubarb Crumble's evolution also mirrors Britain's demographic shifts. Post-war immigration introduced new flavours and techniques, reinventing traditional dishes. A Punjabi British chef might infuse the filling with cardamom. A Polish baker could layer it in plum jam. These reinterpretations challenge static notions of authenticity, revealing cuisine as a dynamic dialogue. The dish's adaptability once a marker of British resourcefulness, now reflects a multicultural society where tradition is continually redefined. In this light, Rhubarb Crumble becomes a metaphor for national identity, itself rooted in history but balancing into new hybrid forms. In an era of climate crisis, rhubarb offers lessons in sustainability. Its hardy growth requires minimal pesticides, while its natural reduces soil distribution. Modern zero waste chefs use every part of the start from compotes to syrups, though its toxic leaves remain a challenge. Could rhubarb inspire solutions for food insecurity? Urban farms in cities like Detroit or Berlin are already experimenting with it as a low input crop, bridging the gap between hyperlocal agriculture and global food justice movements. Rhubarb's resilience, both ecological and historical, positions it as a model for reimagining our food systems. Why does the crunch of a crumble topping evoke such comfort? Food psychologists argue that texture triggers memory more powerfully than taste alone. The contrast between crisp crumbs and soft fruit mirrors life's dualities, hardships and solace in abundance. For many, the dish isn't linked to childhood, family and safety. This sensory nostalgia transcends generations, making it Rhubarb Crumble a chorus answer blanket in an uncertain world, a call to the table, lessons from a humble dessert. Rhubarb Crumble is more than a dessert, it is a microcosm of human ingenuity. Its history teaches us that necessity fuels innovation, whether in wartime kitchens or immigrant communities. Its agricultural roots remind us that food is never just subsistence, it is a culture memory and resistance. As we confront 21st century challenges, climate change, globalisation, cultural fragmentations, Rhubarb Crumble offers a blueprint. Embrace adaptability. Just as the crumble evolved, so must we. Solutions to food insecurity and ecological collapse lies in flexibility and regionality. On the local wisdom, the rhubarb triangle's decline warns against sacrificing regional identity for convenience. Sustainability begins with valuing what grows nearby. Celebrate hybridity. Like the dish itself, societies thrive when they blend traditional with new perspectives. In every bite of Rhubarb Crumble, we taste the past but also the future. It challenges us to ask what stories will our meals tell tomorrow, and how might those stories nourish not just our bodies but our world. The answer perhaps lies in the quiet alchemy of flour, butter, and the stubborn pink stalk that refuse to be forgotten. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, concludes today's lesson of the Butterfly Princess Academy, where curiosity takes flight and wisdom wears wings. Now, you probably realise that my lessons are quite long and very detailed, But the reason for it, you know, you may feel I gibber wrong a bit, but it's just because I'm very passionate about sharing my love of lifelong education. Throughout life, we never stop learning, and through the Butterfly Princess Academy, I hope that I can share my love of learning. I hope that my love of learning also shines through when you are watching these lessons back. And I also want to teach people, give as much people, give as much educational information as I possibly can on the various subjects that I cover. So on that note, I will say bye-bye for now. Take care, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.